All right, hello everyone, and in this tutorial or this challenge, we're going to test our skills on seeing if we are giving a list of student names and see if we can split them up into two teams but do it randomly. So I know we have another video going over how to split them up by counting off with 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. This one is going to be totally random, so random assignments for teams, which is kind of cool. So again, you can follow along JS Fiddle. We provide you with the link and we provide you with the code that is present here on the screen. Let's go ahead and go through that code that we actually give you. So we have an array that you see on lines 10 all the way down to 21 here, and that's just a list of student names. Okay, feel free to create your own student names if you want. Next thing that we give you for free is the function that will create a random number. We have to supply a minimum, right, as well as a maximum. And again, I didn't want us to focus too hard on the random generator portion of this. It's more or less the logical thinking on how to go about this. So feel free to pause the video at any time and see if you can complete some of these challenges and stuff. We're going to give you some comment clues on here, and that way it will cause you to maybe think about something, right? So maybe you'll pause it on one of our comments and you'll go ahead and try to do it, and then you can go ahead and re-enable the video and see if that's what you got. So for this, I am going to disable my completions here so it doesn't get ahead of me in speaking. So the first thing that I want to do on here, and kind of going along with our previous video, what we did in here is we created two arrays. We created team 1 and team 2, and we just sent them to empty arrays because eventually we want to put the new student or the random student in each one of these respectively. All right. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a function here. So I'm going to put some comments in here. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit to give ourselves some room and kind of stub out some code that I think that we might want to do. So I would say we should create a function that will generate a random student. Okay, so we'll put that in here. So create a function. All right, so we're going to do that, and then this function should also remove the student that was selected from the given array that we have up here of students. So if we have a random number, it's going to choose whatever, 2, right? And the second position on here, so 0, 1, 2 would be Peter. Peter's going to be extracted out of here, and there should be some remaining students later on, right? So that's the thought process. So this function will also remove a student from the original array. So those are some things that we definitely want to do. And then inside this function, we should also grab a random index, right? So this function needs to grab a random index using the random function. Okay, so I think that kind of helps us stub some of this out. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create the function name here for us and see if you can pause the video and maybe try to do some of these things. And the first thing that we're going to need to do is get a random index. So let's go ahead and stub some of this out. We'll do, I'll go ahead and scroll up here. We'll do function get random teammate, and it's not going to take any parameters whatsoever. And this is where you're going to want to start writing out some code. Okay, so the first step that I would say to try to do is see if you can get a random number between 0 and however many students that we have left in the array. So pause the video, see if you can do that. All right, well, in order to do this, we'll do let random index. Again, you could have named your variable anything you wish. I'm going to go with random index, and we need to call the function random that we gave you at the very beginning, right? And then it needs a minimum, and then it needs a maximum, right? And so the minimum is going to be 0, right? Because the students It goes all the way from 0 all the way up to, and then we need to have a property that we're going to be referencing is the size of that array, right? And if you don't know what that is the length property of that array. So we can do something like this, students.length. And then because whenever we use student.length, it actually gives us one more than the index that's there. So whenever we use .length, in this case here, it'd be, I believe, 10 names on here. However, if we tried to do a random number between 0 and 10, and we actually got 10, we would get an error in our code. It can't reference outside of that. So remember, everything is 0 based in JavaScript. So if we're trying to get Nancy, it's not student square bracket 10, it's students square bracket 9, for example. Okay. So we do need to do length minus 1. Okay. And that will get us exactly what we need here. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we need to create another variable to actually assign that random student to a variable. Okay, so feel free to pause the video and see if you can get that working, where we'll say something like let random student equal, and then you finish this part here. Go ahead and pause the video, see if you can do it based off of what we have given you so far. All right, so what I need to put on the right side of this equal sign is students square bracket random index. I'm going to go ahead and scroll up just a little bit more here. All right, and I notice I misspelled that, but no worries. But that's what we're looking for right now. Okay, and again, we can return this random student. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a real quick console log of get random teammate with a left and right parentheses. Okay, so that's calling our function here. And then I'm going to go ahead and save it and run it. And so I get Nancy, I get Jody, I get John. So I'm not seeing any kind of repeats quite yet. But the thing that we have to keep in the back of our minds is the following. If I went ahead and did something like this, a console log of students, and if I save this and I run this, let me go ahead and clear this out, save it and run it, I get Nancy, but Nancy is still inside of our array. And so our problem is this function has done this part right here where it will grab a random user, but it has not done this part where it actually removes that student from the original array. So what I would like you to do now is pause the video, see if you can go to Google, ChatGPT, and ask or look for how can I remove an index from an array. So go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so hopefully you found something out there, and we have access to something here called splice. All right, so we can use that up here. We can do something like this, students.splice, and then it says on here you need to provide what index you would like to start it from, and then you can also provide another parameter in there on how many you want to go over, right? So we can splice this up here, and we can do something like this. Well, we would like to start at the random index, and we only want to go, we only want to take that one block out. So again, in Visual Studio Code, it does give us a little bit of cues here. And in here it says it removes the elements from the array, and if necessary, it will insert new elements in their place. And it happens to return the deleted element. So you have the start, and then how many over do you want to delete? And in this case, we just need one. So students splice, let's go ahead and save this. Let's run it this time and see what we get. So I see Andrea over here. And let's check to see if we see Andrea in the new students section over here. And I don't see it anywhere over here. So it does look like it indeed removed it. Okay. So now the next part of this, this get random teammate is done. It's complete. now it's time to implement the for loop on this, okay? So I'm going to get rid of you. And for this, all right, so the next part of our problem here is we need to go ahead and do the for loop. And so what we're going to do is we need to start off with a keyword of for, and then we're going to do let I equal 0. That's what we want to start it off with. Then I'm going to put a semicolon there. We want to stay inside this loop as long as we have students remaining. But every time we go through the loop, we are going to not only push to our team 1 array, but we're also going to push to our team 2 array. So we only want to go through this half of the length, okay? So we're going to run into an issue if we simply just use the students.length and divide that by 2. So let's do this, and we'll kind of see what issues arise from it and what we can do to band-aid the situation here. So I'm going to put students.length in here, but I only want to go through this half as many times as there are, okay? Next thing that I will want to do on here is I want to iterate this over I++, just increment it each time that I go through this. Okay, so in here, it's just two simple things that we want to do inside of the for loop, and that is we're going to do a team1 and dot push, and then we want to get that random teammate. Same thing with 2. We want to grab it as well. So if I went ahead and save this, again, I have 10 players. I should have 5 on each side. But if I run this, and of course I need to console log team1, and then I'll console log team2. So I'll go ahead and save that, run it, and we'll see that we don't quite get all 5 on each, right? Like, and that's because whenever we use splice up here, our length is changing, right? Once you use it one time and it found Nancy at the very beginning, if you remember that, the length of the students just went from 10 down to 9, right? And so the workaround for this is let's capture the length prior to us even generating a random teammate. And so usually what I'll do is I'll come up here and let's just go ahead and grab the length up here. So I'll just do something like this. Let total students equal, and then we're just going to do students.length, okay? And that will give us the hard-coded value of what the total students were at the very beginning instead of towards the end here. And all I have to do is put total students right here, save it, run it, and now we see they each get 5. We don't have any kind of duplicates on these various teams here. So you can see I have John, Nancy, Jody, Thomas, and Andrea, right? And I don't have any of those dupes over here. So again, hopefully that kind of made sense. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson, this tutorial. Please make sure that you like and subscribe in order to keep learning more, as we are going to be releasing more and more of these types of challenges to walk through. All right. So thanks for watching, everyone.